Welcome to Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025, your Day Weather Podcast brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at wyomingadvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. Colder temperatures across the region today, and as some of you are experiencing, a little bit of the white stuff as the next Pacific system is swinging its way through. It's going to really impact Colorado the most, the Colorado high country, the front range of Colorado, a little bit onto the plains, and then pushing south into portions of northern New Mexico. Northwest flow aloft then takes over for the remainder of the week and into the weekend. And as we've been showing you, this is a pattern that really favors the northern Rockies, the high elevations to see off and on snows. Really from late tomorrow all the way up through Sunday. Now, occasionally what will happen in northwest flow is snow showers will break off the mountains and move across the plains, but not in an organized fashion. So you get a little patch of snow here, you get a little patch of snow there, but it's not widespread. But it's exactly the pattern you want to see the snowpack finally start to build and get those ski areas in a better situation. Now, next week, as we mentioned, Pacific air kind of floods the zone, leading to a warming trend across the U.S. as the polar vortex splits, and that's going to wreak havoc on the models, the splitting vortex up into those northern latitudes. So we'll see what happens once we get to late next week and the weekend after, because it could be a variety of different scenarios, but it's going to stay active. Beautiful cloud formation there in Logan, Utah. We got some wave action in the clouds as that Pacific moisture increasing ahead of the trough that's now in place today. And some beautiful sunrise photos coming in with lots of color across the region down in Franktown, Colorado as well. And also, beautiful shot there from Jan in southeastern Wyoming with a lot of those same clouds you just saw with those pictures earlier. Satellite photo this morning shows kind of a diffuse pattern, but if you look real carefully, you can see an area of enhanced cloudiness right here. That's associated with the upper level low right here over Utah, and the better moisture is out ahead to the east and just to the northeast of it. But you can see the better concentration of moisture, which is a lot easier to see on the water vapor. You can see the enhanced clouds coming up ahead of the system, really focused on Colorado, into western Kansas, northern New Mexico here, the I-80 corridor, in parts of central Wyoming. We'll see some light snows earlier in the day. Here's that Pacific moisture queued up to start to come in that northwest flow as we get to the end of the week and into the upcoming weekend. There's the upper level trough just west of Grand Junction by around noontime today. The north-south axis of the very cold air in the northern latitudes is still being directed into the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. As this system comes on through and swings to the south and east, it will bring wet weather to the southern plains, but also wintry weather along the front range of Colorado today. Watch I-25, watch Interstate 70, Interstate 40, down across New Mexico and into West Texas. By Friday, you may notice we just have this wave train of little lows, not big lows, but we talked about how you get spokes on the wheel around these vortexes like this. Okay, and that's what we're seeing right here. And so we have these little waves in northwest flow coming on through. So that's what we've been showing you all week. That's all queued up and lined up to go from the Pacific Northwest to the Idaho, Montana, Wyoming mountains, the mountains of northern Utah, and the mountains of northern Colorado. And then you're going to see to the north and east of these little waves, frequent light to moderate snows across southern Canada, then into the upper Midwest. High pressure here will keep warmer conditions in the desert southwest and along the California coast. This is the snowfall through tomorrow morning. So from today through tomorrow morning, you can see Colorado doing pretty good here with winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings in effect for some of the mountains. And then you can see parts of New Mexico here getting into the act. Lighter snows where the moisture is less widespread and not as deep as it is down into these areas here. So if you're going to be traveling in those blue and pink areas in particular today through tonight, watch out for some slick roads. By Sunday, kind of a similar situation. We've got these little lows, strong northwest flow, and as we showed you yesterday, we now have an east-west elongation of the polar vortex, not north-south anymore. So that straightens out the jet stream flow. This is where Pacific air comes in. So basically, the Canadian air is more locked up into this part of the nation here. So Pacific air comes in. That will moderate temperatures as we get into early to the middle parts of next week. But it will drive that moisture in. So these are the precipitation totals, basically from Thursday night through Monday morning. And there you can see impressive snow in the high country. That's the snow I talked about, southern Canada and the northern plains, along the north and eastern edges of those little lows coming in one after another across the northern tier. By the middle of next week, we still have that configuration of east-west, but this is where we have the split that we talked about right here. The polar vortex splitting into two lobes. So this is going to complicate things in terms of how the models handle it. But by the middle of next week, I think we probably have a good idea what's going to happen. It's going to be what happens after that. We still have strong west to northwest flow coming into the northern Rockies. Now, certainly it's not cold air coming in, but it is Gulf of Alaska air. So modified Pacific air coming on in, and that's going to keep the weather pattern very active along the U.S.-Canadian border. But it's also going to bring in deep Pacific moisture. Look at that. That is a lot of Pacific moisture getting driven into the Rockies. So you're probably still going to be getting snow production in the mountains. But as we mentioned earlier, occasionally you get these break-off snow showers that reach the plains. So that'll be something that we're going to have to watch next week. By next Friday, the polar vortex situation is much different. We actually have the pocket of colder air that's actually retreating back up to the north here on the north slope of Alaska. But at the same time, possibly a high pressure ridge developing here in the Gulf of Alaska. And that may send this trough here off the west coast of British Columbia towards the western United States by next weekend. But there's a lot of moving parts here, and we're just going to have to take it one day at a time. Where are we with La Nina? Well, there it is. You can see the colder water temperatures there along the equator. It's still there. However, if you look at the 7-day change in temperature of the sea surface temperature anomalies, starting to see these warm pockets beginning to show up. So you can see that the Pacific Basin, for the most part, in the last 7 days, has started to get a little bit warmer, especially here. So it's the beginning to the end of La Nina. Have yourself a very good Wednesday. We will see you tomorrow.